button, and then we can kick off. So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening. I know that we've got people joining from different countries, so everyone's very welcome to this webinar about work experience and how that can change your university outcome. My name is Steve Phillips. I am the Director International at MPW, and I've got Carlos with me from InvestIN. He's going to be doing most of the talking today, I hope, but we will get a chance to have some questions and answers after Carlos has presented InvestIN and what they can offer to young people, which is very exciting, I think, and I'm very pleased that we're able to have this webinar today. You might be asking, why is MPW hosting this webinar about work experience? And that's fine. That's a very good question, and we will get to that later. So stay on the webinar, and after Carlos has presented, then we'll get to a bit more about the partnership that we have with them for our summer program, which I think will bring great value actually to young people. So just a tiny bit of housekeeping in that please keep your microphones muted. That's for the benefit of everyone listening, but also for the presenters as well. And we do have the chat box on Microsoft Teams. I'm sure that we're all used to Microsoft Teams and other platforms now. So if you've got any questions, please do put them into the chat box. And after Carlos has presented, then I will ask him some questions of my own. And if you've got any questions, that would be great as well. So, Carlos, I think over to you. You can introduce yourself and InvestIN, and then get onto your presentation when you're ready, if that's okay.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Steve, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those that you have joined. Do appreciate you taking the time. I'm just going to share my screen very quickly. Hopefully, Steve, can you just tell me if you see that? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, good.
Brilliant. Well, again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. We're here to talk about InvestIN. What we do is we deliver immersive career experiences programs to both, British and international students here in the UK. Just going to briefly introduce myself. Again, I'm Carlos Taboas. I represent the International Partnerships Department team at InvestIN. And, at the moment, I will be sort of your main point of contact for anything that you need throughout, our journey together. And hopefully, after the presentation, any questions, as Steve said, please feel free to ask me moving forward. So I thought I'd just briefly sort of introduce sort of the first question of, why is work experience important? And, I like to keep things a little bit simple just to sort of make that emphasize that, the actual why is something really important. And after we can get into details. So actually work experience is very important because it does help students improve, as you can see, many key transferable skills, which universities will be looking for in potential degree students. Obviously in the UK, this is quite important, but for international students, I believe that work experience will help a lot more and benefit, students that will apply to UK university, but also when they go back home, it will help you both from a academic, but also from an industry perspective in your future careers. Now, I put a little bit of a slide here, today's job market, employability skills. As you know, the world of work has dramatically changed, as professionals and also as students. This has been, a big change, specifically due to the pandemic. But, things have changed from, applying to jobs to applying to universities. How do you present information? How do you talk to potential recruiters? How to apply to a job, even to how to do a cover letter for a simple job. So everything's dramatically changed in how information is viewed and how people speak, now in the world of today. And some of the key sort of factors that have impacted the world of work, as you all probably know, has been obviously competition, technology and automation, transferable skills, which is quite of an important one, especially for everyone that's sort of, in the world of work today. The type of skills that have been required 10, 20 years ago is not the same of the skills that are actually being required nowadays. And again, COVID-19 has been obviously one of the main factors that have sort of impacted everyone around the world. Now, here on the right hand side, put sort of the work experience skills that sort of benefit everyone. But these that you can see here on the slide really are the ones that are quite important for students that universities will be looking for. And through InvestIN's programs, I believe we have been able to sort of help students gain these type of skills throughout their journey with us, moving forward to university and to their first recruitment jobs. So you can see, for example, self-management being one, organizational skills, communication skills, which is quite important nowadays, leadership, teamwork, and as well problem solving, analytical, and critical thinking. So these are skills to bear in mind when we talk to our students or families, when they're looking for their first degree and going on to university and to their career work-wise. What are the skills that are going to be required by potentially any employer nowadays? Now, here's a little bit of an introduction on InvestIN education. I think there are various ways that I can introduce ourselves, but I'm trying to keep it, like I said, simple. So I think I would say that InvestIN is a London-based education organization specializing in providing British and international students with life-changing immersive career experience programs to students between 12 to 18 years old in order to maximize their potential when choosing their future dream career. So that's in a nutshell a bit, what is InvestIN, who is InvestIN, and now I would like to sort of give you a bit of an introduction on, what is our mission? Well, essentially, we're trying to bridge the gap between what students learn in school and what employers expect from them when they leave school. And how we're doing this at the moment, very briefly, we do offer more than 28 in-demand and competitive career programs, which are led by our industry executives and professionals. We have more than 50,000 students that have joined an InvestIN program since 2012. More than 100 nationalities have joined us, from various areas of the world, such as Americas, Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. We've had more than 1,000 school partnerships at the moment with InvestIN, mainly from the UK, but we're growing internationally at the moment as well. We have live online and on-campus delivery programs. So, across the UK, US, Middle East, and Asia, we've been able to sort of support students and families with our live online programs. And for those that can join us in person in London on campus, they would have joined up until now. And lastly, I think it's quite important to mention sort of the reviews as well. We're scoring on 4.9 out of 5 reviews for parents and students on Trustpilot. This is a very important fact for me, especially. I think what parents, speak about us from their children joining us and how they exit the program. What are the skills that they have learned and what have they taken with them? Giving them sort of all of that, all the necessary tools to sort of excel in their first years of university, but also helping them when they graduate. What is an employer looking for a student in their first job? And I think that's really important nowadays. Now, just a little bit on our methodology, and really, when I say what we provide is world-class career preparation, I think nowadays it's really important, the type of information that we're providing students is up to date, and sort of the learning methodology has to be quite different to what it was before, enhancing as much as we can that learning experience. And so very briefly, our career experience programs are divided into 4 main pillars. The first one is immersive simulations, and this basically means, when someone comes onto an InvestIN program, let's say that you want to be a doctor, we will take our students with our, senior consultants, in this case, they would be doctors, to a London hospital and to provide specific simulations throughout their doctor program. Let's say that, for example, they want to be an investment banker. We would take students, for example, to a London skyscraper, and they will have the opportunity to talk again with our senior consultants from industry, such as investment bankers, and having being able to do a simulation such as, for example, a trade deal in a London skyscraper. Let's say that you want to be a lawyer, you'll be able to visit a law firm or even a court and to do, for example, an example of a murder mock trial as an example, and things like these. So every career that we offer, we do have immersive simulations throughout the program, both from a in-person perspective, but also from a live online perspective. We offer these simulations as well. Personalized coaching is quite of an important one, and the way that we provide this in our professionals is actually our professionals will coach students both from an academic perspective, but also from an industry perspective. So from an academic perspective, professionals will help students, from how to apply to a top UK university, what are the documents that you need? How do you need to talk in an interview? How to manage an admissions process well. And for example, from an industry perspective, how to prepare a CV or how to talk to a potential employer when you first, you're in that first interview for the first time. So these are just aspects of the personalized coaching that we offer. And that third area that is quite important as well is exclusive site visits. So every student that joins an InvestIN program will have the opportunity in person to visit either a university or a company. And so therefore that gives students the opportunity to have the best of both worlds, to understand more from an academic perspective in person, what does a top UK university look like, as well as visiting, for example, a top company in London, and how does that work. And then to finalize off with the fourth element, which is top professionals. Essentially at InvestIN, everyone that we sort of bring onto our programs will be taught by industry executives and professionals. So the way this works is that obviously we will have our partners that will join from different organizations or from hospitals, for example, and will teach students the program throughout time. So depending on the program that they join, there will always be an industry executive that will be the ones to lead the program. Now, in terms of key benefits that our industry experiences provide, well, essentially, this is just recapping. Every student that joins an InvestIN program, either live online or in person, will have sufficient knowledge, and from both a career and an industry perspective, to be able to sort of apply to their best top class, university choice, because they will have that knowledge that our professionals have sort of provided them throughout the program. Again, hands-on experience that our professionals will be giving students face-to-face or online, but also the advantage, students that are coached through professionals will have a key advantage, on how to sort of excel from other students when they're applying to university, but also applying to jobs. So that advantage of the coaching is quite of a big aspect as well. And the last one is the networking. Students will have the opportunity to be having quite of a large network of professionals, but also university students throughout our programs, which I think is quite of an important thing. We usually have, networking usually occurs to many students in university level, but also when you're going for your first job. But being able to offer this to students from the ages of 12 to 18, I think that's quite unique in order to help students sort of understand what is it like to start networking with professionals, but also university students for their futures. And again, I think that these four sort of main benefits sum up the fifth one, which I like to mention, is sort of the engagement and the high impact that our programs deliver. So every student that joins our program, they will be, it is quite of a full-on experience. So I really do encourage students when they join to understand that they will be very engaged, and obviously it will be quite of a high impact from both the academic perspective, but also the industry perspective. Now, this is a very interesting slide here. Industry executives and professionals, I think this is the main difference between us and other providers, I think, is that at InvestIN, we really focus on the industry experience. So this is just to give you an idea of the type of organizations where we have our professionals that either have worked at or currently working in, and come in and with their level of experience, from 2 to 5 years up to 20 years of experience, they will come in and sort of host the programs to our students. So this is just to give you an idea of the level of organizations that we sort of collaborate with, but directly with the professionals, not with the actual company, but with the professionals that are working at these organizations. And added value. Again, I think what is the added value that students gain from our experiences, and I think this is quite of an important one. And I've put here down, for British students, this is obviously a very important aspect. But again, I like to refer more to the international students as well, because it's really important to sort of help support students that are outside the UK as well. And this is what we're trying to do just now. And I'll start off with the first one. Every student that joins an InvestIN program, once they've exited the program, they will receive a student certificate. At the moment, every student that joins the program and receives a student certificate uses the certificate in their advantage to apply to a UK university, for example. And that provides sort of the level of commitment that a student has had throughout an industry experience for 5, 10, or 15 days. And the certificate does carry weight when you are applying for a university, but also it helps you at the time that you're looking for a job. The skills that you've gained, and it's a way of sort of demonstrating, to any potential employer or university, the commitment that you have gained throughout the program in a particular career and industry. We're also offering, a reference letter as an additional backup for students that might need this, and it does help students as well, depending on where they want to apply, to add this as well to their sort of application process. Standing out in their university application is another key one. The work and practical experience that you've gained through InvestIN, you're able to stand out with your university application, and you may use this in various ways. You have the opportunity to study and live on campus at a top world-class university such as UCL, for example. We partner with UCL in this aspect for our venues. Again, you have that extensive network of professionals and university students, which is a great opportunity to start sort of making those relationships from a young age, and I think that's quite unique. Preparing for a CV and excelling for an interview process. Again, this is, it's quite of an interesting one. Everyone might sometimes think, how do you prepare for a CV? And absolutely, every country has a different way of how to prepare for their sort of CVs for their companies and so on. But when you're applying for an international company, for example, preparing a CV, it is quite of an easy task, but sometimes we get carried away with a lot of information. So our professionals really try to help students on how to prepare for their CVs in the best way possible, so that their sort of application into that type of company that they're looking for is actually seen and not overlooked. Again, the know-how on how to apply for graduate recruitment jobs. When you finalize your degree or your master's and you're going for your first career job, how to talk to potential employers. And this nowadays has dramatically changed. And our professionals, with their level of experience, is able to help students to understand, what are the tips and tricks that they need in order to apply to their first jobs more successfully. Career coaching for lives. So this is quite of an interesting one. We have something called AmbitionX, and this is our online careers development platform, which has been launched last year. So the great thing about this platform is that every student that has joined one of our programs, once they've exited the program, they will have the opportunity to have AmbitionX, which is practically 12 months free of master classes and weekend programs as part of your package with InvestIN's in-person programs. And I think this is a great way of continuing developing yourself and sort of going forward. And if you're very interested in one program, you can continue developing yourself, coaching yourself into that sort of area. But also, as many times we know that what we're trying to do is help students to find their best choice and to understand that that's the career that they want. If a student joins one of our programs and they want to go onto the AmbitionX platform to take other programs from different careers to test drive them, they might well do that as well. And maybe they will find out that the one career is not the one that they wanted, and the others that they've test driven are more interesting to their needs. So that's also a very important one for us, and I think this is a good added value for students as well. And I would finalize, the soft, hard, and transferable skills that students gain through our programs is quite of a large, portion of the feedback that we gain from students and parents. So this is quite of an important one as well. Just here for everyone, just to see very briefly, these are the 28 careers that we offer at the moment, and I would say that the top 5 areas of interest that we've gained throughout our programs in the last years have been really engineering, investment banking, law, medicine, and psychology. So these are the top 5, but obviously we want to help as many students as possible with as many careers as that we can offer. So again, students will have the opportunity to sort of test drive any of these areas of interest at the time of application. Now, very briefly, I thought I'd just explain a bit of the difference between, our structure, which is quite of a different structure to the usual sort of programs that are delivered in the summers. Because we're industry experience programs, the structure is slightly different. And how we deliver our programs at the moment is structured by a 5, 10, and 15-day sort of day program. If students take essentially a 5-day program, it will give them a 360 view of what their career will look like. So they will have the opportunity to have that test driving sort of the areas between, entering your experience, having lecture-based learning at UCL, site visits, and career coaching with their industry professionals. But if you want to take a 10-day program, we will emphasize more on additional site visits, taking more time with the professionals, having that career-specific cultural activities, in person, but also having those networking sessions with the industry professionals themselves. And to finalize, the 15-day program that we've currently launched is pretty much for students that are very, very secure about going to a university and as well to a UK university. And we have something called Career Max, which is pretty much, a focus between career coaching, skill development, and application guidance for universities. Students will also have the opportunity to visit places like Oxford or Cambridge. We emphasize as well on that graduate recruitment, on teaching students, what is the recruitment process? What are the interviewing techniques that you get? But also having group exercises between students and professionals as well. And students will finalize with a personal development plan between themselves and the professional in order to sort of, what are the next steps between the moment that you've joined an InvestIN program to where do you want to be when you've finished university. And that's a great way of finishing, I guess, a 15-day program where you're actually, the next steps, what you should be doing. And sort of we try to support students in that way moving forward in their careers. In terms of start dates and programs, I briefly just placed here, for everyone just to have an example, we divide these between what we call future students, and this is 12 to 14-year-old students, and young students, which are 15 to 18-year-old students. For example, let's just take the young students as an example for international, and let's say, for a student that wants to do engineering. At this year, for example, we do have that availability in person from the 8th to 22nd of July. 5, 10, and 15 days, but also you can take this program again from the 22nd of July to the 5th of August, and again from the 19th of August to the 2nd of September. So we do offer, this year 15 in-person careers, and students will be able to sort of see what are they interested in, and depending on their areas of interest, they'll be able to apply to these intakes. And then depending on, what are their needs, they can then choose 5, 10, or 15 days, depending on, what is their best of interest. We also offer our live online programs for students that cannot travel, and that will be delivered across a 5 and 10-day experience across 15 careers as well. But this is mainly launched in August of this year, as an example. And prices, again, I think this is, we're quite transparent, and obviously, all of our students and as well, through MPW's sort of, a partnership that we have with you, Steve, students can see the pricing, and it's very clear, you have that opportunity of taking a 5-day live online program up to a 15-day in-person program. And again, everyone can see the tuition fees are set in that way. I would say that with the accommodation, it's probably worth noting that we obviously host students at UCL, garden halls, and college halls. And as part of that accommodation package, we offer the single ensuite room, guardianship, and all meals are included. So that's good to know for those students that want to join the accommodation as well. And I would finalize really at this time just by showing everyone just a couple of pictures, just taking a couple of snapshots from our last year programs. I think it's quite interesting. I would finish by saying, when a student joins an in-person summer program with us and InvestIN, they will have that sort of, bit of the academic experience while they're at UCL, taking their lectures, introducing themselves into what their career is with the professionals. But pretty much most of the time, students are on the go. So everyone is across these simulations, as you can see, from different careers, from architecture to engineering to medicine, investment banking, filmmaking, etc., law. So this is just to give everyone an idea, these are the type of simulations that students take part of in the summers with professionals. And this is pretty much where the learning is done, I think, because it's the experience that you gain. And students either come to us for two reasons. Either, you don't really know if there's a particular career that you want to take, and therefore you take this experience so that you're shadowed by these professionals to understand if this is really what you want to do. And the second reason is that if you actually want to do a particular career, but you've never had the experience of looking what it's like in real life, how does that actually look like? And therefore students join us in order to sort of, confirm the theory that that is pretty much what they want to do for the next, 3 to 5, 6 years of their careers, and then moving on to their first jobs. And I would pretty much finish off by saying that, Steve, at the moment, I hope I gave a bit of a summary there. And obviously, I would finish off by saying, that I'm really excited that we're obviously partnering with MPW on this partnership. I think that the type of programs that MPW are, it's top quality. And I think from an academic perspective, you're really giving students and parents what they need. And I'm happy that we're able to sort of top that up with that flavor of industry so that students exit their summer programs happy and sort of, focus on the next steps of their careers. So thank you again for having me. And Steve, please, you can ask me any questions or anyone online as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. That's great. I always have lots of questions.
Of course.
Let's have a look and see if anyone asks in the chat box. But that, it's a very interesting presentation, and we were talking just before we started. It's quite unique, isn't it? Actually, what you do, and people have been talking about internships and work experience for so long, and they've not really known how to go about getting that, especially when they are so young, really, 12 to 18-year-olds. And I think somewhere on your website it says about, your work experience and the whole kind of immersive internship can start actually at a younger age. It doesn't need to start when you graduate from university. And actually, the title of this webinar today is Changing Your University Outcome. So a key question is really, I guess, at university application stage, how important is it for these young people, 16, 17-year-olds in this case, to stand out?
Definitely. No, I think that's a great question, Steve. I'll give you a bit of an example. At the moment, I think it's quite interesting to tell everyone, here, which is something I didn't mention before. Key fact, I've said before that we've had over 50,000 students at InvestIN that have joined since 2012. It's interesting that over 80% of our student body are British students. 20% are international. I think this is one of the key differentiators as well for us, because students that join us from the UK, they see us as a necessity. They need to take one of our programs because it will help them sort of excel their university application. This is exactly what students from the UK are doing at the moment when they take our programs. They find a need that they have to probably take a work experience program. InvestIN has really invested a lot of time in building relationships with schools in the UK, which has been great, with our partner development team and all the teachers that they have been building relationships with, which is wonderful. And I think that UK students that take our programs, then, they take our programs, they have that certificate, they have that experience, they use it in their advantage, which does excel their university application, I guess, from both, the UCAS perspective, but also, when they gain that experience, they're able to talk with knowledge on, what is that particular career that they've done, what is the experience, and for particular careers where you actually need it, such as, medicine or engineering in the UK, how competitive it is to enter university. And I'll take the doctor to become, you're studying medicine in any part of the world, it's a difficult area. But if I take medicine as example, our students in the UK, they take our program because they actually need that work experience with doctors. and which occurs throughout the summer. They work with doctors in hospitals. They take different simulations, coaching, networking, site visits. And this is sort of, a way that demonstrates their commitment. And universities in the UK, they validate the InvestIN sort of, certificate as a way of that they've gained knowledge in the summers and to help them sort of on their first years and at the university application. But that versus international students, rather than a necessity, I think it's even more important for international students, because if an international student wants to come to the UK and study, for example, let's say engineering, if they take an InvestIN program, they will have gained, what is it like to actually work at an engineering multinational company in the UK, which already gives you a lot more knowledge than what you have entered in your first year. And, at the university application stage, what is the cover letter going to look like without an experience, but with it? So you're able to sort of, explain yourself a lot more and sort of have those conversations with university admissions offices in a much more, I think, mature and knowledgeable way. But hopefully that sort of explained a little bit more.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And there's a couple of questions come up actually, and I'll get to those in the chat box in a second. But it is really about standing out, isn't it, at application stage? And I found it very interesting, you listing your most popular courses. So engineering was one of them, the young doctor's experience, psychology, investment banking, lawyer. So these are all the university programs. I think psychology in particular, we did a webinar a few weeks ago about getting into psychology. MPW write a series of books actually called the Getting Into series, and our head of psychology at MPW spoke about how increasingly popular it was as a course at university level, and also how increasingly difficult it is to get into these courses in the first place. So it just goes to show really that standing out at application stage, if you imagine you're one amongst 50 or two amongst 100 that will actually get an offer from not only UK universities, but international universities as well around the world. So this is something that could really help them. And your ratio of British to international students as well, I found very interesting. And as we know, because we've got a background in education, our background's quite similar in many ways. But British schools do quite well, actually, I think, sometimes at counselling students and giving them university advice. International schools overseas, some of them do, but some of them just don't have, the knowledge and the insights that other schools do have. So this, again, for international students, I'd love to see your ratio get more to like 40% international students and 60%.
Absolutely, we're working on that.
It'd be a great, really great value add and a proposition for them. So that's really interesting to hear. So so let's get to the question. So Yevgenia asked, with your presentation, this is being recorded, by the way, and you'll all be sent the link afterwards. So Yevgenia, you will have the chance to see that slide. I know which slide you're referring to. It's the one where Carlos showed the actual program detail, which is quite a detailed slide, but we will, within a couple of hours after this webinar has finished, or today at least, be sending you the link. It will be on our YouTube channel as well, so you'll be able to see that, and you can just, if you want to get an image, you could probably freeze the frame of that slide that Carlos shared, so for more information. Another question is about the art-related experiences, and how can InvestIN add value there. So we have a quite a large art department at PW, and it's very interesting to see how students are taught art actually in a very different way to how they might be taught business or English or law, for example. So how does your program for the art, like the young artist or the art related experience, how does that differ from the other programs that you offer?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think, I wish I had all the details. I think this is a very good question, probably for a program management team who have very detailed, areas on sort of the film and art side. But I probably won't be giving you the exact information you want to hear just now, but I think every professional that we that we have on every career, comes in with a particular sort of, expertise. The way it works for us is that we, like I said, we give these simulations, we do the networking, we do, the coaching, depending on what the needs are of the student in their career area. I think the best thing to do is that to give more details on, for example, the art program, probably I can sort of give more information about that after the webinar, and sort of roll that out to everyone if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. And we can, our email, which is international@mpw.ac.uk. Hopefully everyone on the call knows that, but I can put it into the chat box.
Yeah.
Any questions that come up, they can just ask us and we can link them with you for more specific questions.
Definitely, absolutely.
I think for me, I mean, the actual, the insight, the on-site experience or the visits for me was the thing that really sounded very interesting. And your slide where you shared the industry brands that you're working with, I mean, some really top brands on that slide. Medicine, Young Doctor, as you know, that's one of your most popular programs, and medicine in general, because of what's happened over the last couple of years with the pandemic, it's become a very popular subject area to study at university. And what a great experience that if they take a course with you, they can actually have an on-site visit. Has that, I mean, that's amazing that you're able to arrange that. Was that difficult during COVID times, or not possible and only become possible now? How did that all work?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say that previous to the pandemic, we were delivering our in-person experiences, and obviously, sort of just to give you a summary, when we hit the pandemic, we've had to shift online, which became very successful. We were able to cater for all of our students. We didn't have to cancel any of our programs, but for obviously when we had that lockdown, we had to shift from in-person to live online in a very fast-paced way, because obviously there was a lot of demand for live online, and we had to shift everything online. But now, coming out of the pandemic, obviously I would say that now we're reaching 2022. This summer has been really successful for us. We've had a lot of interest, from the UK, but also across the world. And I guess that we've had to sort of park the simulations with professionals during the pandemic, as every organization had to do, in their own way. But now we've sort of started again, stronger. And this year we're looking at a very, very successful year for InvestIN. And our professionals and our students are very, very, very keen to join and coming in this July.
Great. Yeah, I bet, this summer with, travel restrictions now being lifted from so many countries. And I know that for the international students, a lot of them have a visit visa already, or they can get a visit visa. And so you fall under that category, don't you, of doing a short study course, which is that shouldn't be an issue for them. So that, actually the opportunity to visit, a site visit, or to do something like that. You mentioned the law courts for the young lawyers. I mean, what an amazing experience that would be for them to experience something like that. So really, really interesting. So a question from Iris about support for students finding their first job. So I suppose this might be part of the Ambition X or the Career X that you were talking about. So that can continue, right, after they've actually completed the course with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say if one of our students takes an in-person program now this summer, let's say it's, for example, our, let's say, psychology program, 15 days in London. Once they've finished, they will obviously have that Ambition X, platform. They will have an account, which they will be able to use actually for free for the next 12 months. And they will be able to then, after they've taken the in-person program, test drive 28 careers online through our evening master classes, which are delivered again by our professionals online, but also our weekend programs. And I know I didn't talk a lot about our weekend programs. I barely didn't mention it, but I think it's an area of interest as well for those students as well, that during the year, we're able to help students through weekend programs as well in spring and autumn. And obviously this is sort of it's just more of a taster for students. But obviously through the Ambition X platform, for every student that has gone through the in-person program, we'll have to advantage the evening master classes, but also the weekend programs for free for the next 12 months, where they will be able to test drive either a different career or continue on the path of, for example, the psychology student we just mentioned, for additional evening master class, getting more into depth with their actual area of interest.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great, again, added value, isn't it, for the students that take your courses, that they can continue being connected with you for that period of time. I always think it's very important to stress to kind of parents and students as well that, we at MPW and you at InvestIN, we don't actually find jobs for students. We don't help them find their jobs because that, it's not what we do, but we provide them with guidance and support. Exactly. And input through the knowledge. Actually, the finding the job, unfortunately, has to fall to the student or postgraduate themselves. Exactly. But of course, the more you've got on your CV, a lot of people graduate from university without any work experience whatsoever, and then it would be tough, right, to get into your career of choice. And I do think, Carlos, you know this, and I think a lot of our guests know this. The whole rankings system for the universities, people are, rightly perhaps obsessed with that, and they want to see where their universities are ranked in terms of outcomes. But one of the most popular rankings table in the UK for the UK universities is the postgraduate outcome. So it's not about where you are in terms of degree classifications or student satisfaction. They're important as well, but the postgraduate outcomes are really important for people to look at, and that's where you see, within 6 months, what are the graduates doing? Are they unemployed? Okay, that's not very good. Have they taken a year out? Okay, that's their choice. But the ones that are actually employed in the area that they graduated in, that's what you should be looking at. And things like InvestIN can really help with that, and again, make you stand out on your CV.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so we got another question about the experience that students will have if they want to learn life science or biological sciences in the university. So I think from your 28 programs, there's quite a few medical routes. It's not just the young doctor, but it's other, I'm looking at my list, you've got young nurse and young forensic scientist. I mean, that's amazing. What an experience that must be. So again, you have industry professionals coming in and giving young people advice on these areas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We do. And as I mentioned before, through those 28 careers that I've mentioned before, that we've been, providing through InvestIN, for quite some time now, we will have sort of those relationships with our industry professionals. Depending on the needs, we work a lot on demand. So, I think, as I said before, where the world of work has dramatically changed, certain careers have now, for example, software engineering. That's a big one in the last couple of years as well. Cybersecurity, things like these have just sort of boosted, and we have to provide this support for students. And I think that when we see this demand from students, but also from partners and teachers, we try our best to sort of have those relationships here in the United Kingdom with professionals to sort of give students what they need. And obviously these professional relationships do take time, like anything. And when we do have them, we try to sort of do our best to provide them. And as you mentioned, throughout the other careers that you've mentioned before.
Yeah, and 28, is a great choice, a great list to work through. And I think you mentioned, there are two kind of customers you have. One is they know the career that they want already, so they can go quite niche, can't they? Like the forensic scientist one. I mean, that's really niche. You should know already what you want to do. But some of them are quite general, and you said, the other customer, they don't know what career they want to try some out just to see if it's for them. So this is a great kind of taster session almost, isn't it, to see if that career is for them or not. So it's certainly not just for the young person who knows what they want.
No, absolutely not. It's also for those that are not so sure about what they want yet, and and we should help. And I think this is sort of coming from the roots and the DNA of InvestIN from the beginnings with our founders, is that, trying to sort of, find that gap where we understand that for younger students that are still in school, it's not an easy thing to know, what is going to be your next 3 to 5, 6 years of university life going to look like? Is this the actual career that you want? And so we need to provide sort of that additional support by providing what we call is, the career experience programs that we offer to help them visualize that in real life. And so, yeah, that's how we're doing for now.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Thank you. So I think we've answered the questions, and we've gone into it a bit more detail of the programs. That was all really very interesting. Thank you so much. I did say at the beginning that I would just explain what the partnership is between MPW and InvestIN. So we're working together. So MPW has our summer program in Cambridge this summer, and we're offering all the students an opportunity to stay on after that and have the InvestIN experience in London. So next year, 2023, I know that we don't like to look so far ahead because we're so wrapped up in what's going on for this year, but we will have a London summer school next year as well. And again, we'll be working closely with InvestIN next year as well. So, but for the time being, our summer school is in Cambridge. It's an academic summer school. You can find out all the details on our website. Go to mpw.ac.uk and just type in summer school, and it will give you all the information that you need, plus the links to InvestIN as well, and the programs that Carlos has spoken about. So one last question just come up, which is advised, when is a good time for a student to apply for the industry experience? So do you do rolling admissions application, Carlos?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question, actually. So at InvestIN, we really want to support, I would say, every student that has an ambition and a passion for a career. We want to help. And we do that, we don't want to currently have a strict application process, really. We look into sort of the type of students that, are coming through, they must have passion and will. We will have certain things that we will ask throughout the application process at InvestIN, but essentially, I would say, to answer the question, because it is first come, first serve at the moment, and of course, there are lots of students that are interested in having these type of experiences. We work in that way, but I would say that students are able to apply at least 1 month maximum from the start date of their program. We're able to accept them. So, for example, if our first session is on the 8th of July, I would encourage anyone that's interested in to apply maximum by the 8th of June. So again, anyone that needs any support, they can come directly to me. And if there is an urgency matter and we pass that date, I mean, we can always try to help in the best way possible if we can. So I don't think there will be an issue. But yeah, I think it's really important to emphasize that we want to help every student possible out there, as long as they have the passion and will. They will see for themselves when they're on the website looking at the program structure. It's a full-on program. And I think one of the unique things is that, having that experience, that not only the industry experience, but also being able to sort of, network with British students. That's quite of an amazing one for the international side. And I think you and me, Steve, coming from the international education sector, that it's quite of an unusual situation for me to be in, where we're able to sort of, add value to international students, to actually be with the British students from the start, from an industry experience, which is such an unusual thing to have. So I'm really happy that we're able to help as well the international student side in that manner as well.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because we do exactly the same at MPW. There's two kinds of international schools in the UK, or independent schools. One is the international one, and one is the British one. And MPW, I tell all the students that we interview, and when I'm speaking to partners overseas, actually we're a British college, but we accept international students. So we will always have more British or UK nationals in our classes, and to get international students to come into the classrooms and to liaise and network with the British students, it's great actually, that balance. really works. And I think it's exactly the same value for your students.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the last question for Janet about how to put in an application for the summer program with InvestIN. Well, you just do that directly with us, Janet, and that's our email. I'll pop it in the chat box in a minute, but it's international@npw.ac.uk. So if you send us an email, we'll send you all the details for that. So I think that's it. 50 minutes. Everyone's webinared out these days, and I don't like to get up to an hour. In the past, 2 years ago, we were all sat on webinars for 2 hours long, weren't we? And we all
Absolutely.
We all thought how exciting it was, but not anymore. We've got face-to-face activities going on now. But really, really good to talk to you today, Carlos. I think your product is so unique, so niche, and so important. And I think, yeah, for British and international students, I think that it's yeah, a great value add for their university application. So thank you so much for sharing details and talking to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Steve, and everyone on the call for joining. I appreciate you having me as well, Steve, and we're looking forward to sort of growing, obviously, the MPW InvestIN partnership forward, and look forward to seeing anyone that I might be visiting or meeting in the, now that we have in person, we're going back to traveling. Look forward to meeting anyone out there as well in the near future. So I hope everyone has a safe and good week ahead, and look forward to speaking to you soon again. Thank you very much, Steve, for having me.
Great. Thanks,
Take
Carlos.
care.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. All the best, everyone.
All the best. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.